I'm doing great, Jim. Great to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm telling you, Nick is one of, if not the most inspiration, has one of the most inspirational comeback stories, certainly in the field of crossers across America and possibly in all of ultra running. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, Nick, why don't you tell everybody where you're from, if you don't mind, where you're from, where you're living now, and why you chose to run across America.
Yeah, sure, Jim. Originally born in South Wales in the United Kingdom, and in my mid-20s moved to a wonderful part of the world called New Zealand, where I spent 20 plus years and met my wife there and obviously have a family. And decision to run across America was taken in 2015. I'd always, since a very early age, had this fascination with seeing a little bit of the iconic road, Route 66. So rather than drive it, I thought it would be a good idea to run. And
Oh,
2015, I sadly lost my mum to a horrible disease of the lungs called pulmonary fibrosis. So I made the decision to do the run at that point, just after her death. And then the race for me began on the 14th of May, 2017.
I'll tell you what, I'm just so glad that I ran into you. You've inspired me for the last 3.5 years. And Nick is one of 27 of us who have run or walked across the country has written a chapter in this book, Across America on Foot. This book will be available on Amazon sometime in March. So please check it out. Now we're going to get rid of that and go to full screen here, Nick. And I got to tell you, I love to follow crossers. I absolutely love to follow crossers that are running across the country on Facebook. And that's how I met you. That's initially I was just following your run. And if you don't mind, tell them where you started and where you planned on finishing.
Sure. So I started at the end of Santa Monica Pier, Los Angeles on the 14th of May and picked up historical Route 66 from LA, which is the finishing point, and then scheduled to finish around 110, 115 days later in New York. So the end point was going to be Central Park.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Nick got, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you got about 80% of your journey completed before the unthinkable happened. And we'll get to that in a bit. But before we get there, Nick, tell us a little bit about how much running you had done, how many marathons, or had you been an ultra runner before you started your run across America?
Yeah, I'd done a few ultras before my run across America. I've always been very active physically. I was very, very lucky to play international field hockey for Great Britain during my student days. So I've always had that strong physical background. And then took up marathon running in my 20s and really didn't start ultras until my mid 30s. Phenomenal experience in 2014. I took on the challenge of Marathon des Sables in the Sahara Desert, which is, for those people who have done it, is essentially a 6-day challenge where you have to take everything that you need to keep yourself going over a period of 6 days on your back, with the exception of water. So I did pretty well in that particular race for my age group. I've done the Comrades in South Africa and a couple of other 100K and 100 milers in the UK. So I've always been looking for that next big challenge, and the death of my mum in 2015 was the sort of gentle nudge. So combining both her death and raising money for this particular disease, but at the same time finding something that was going to really push me physically and mentally, and it certainly did. But what happened after the 2nd of August, which was very, very unexpected.
Yeah, we're going to get there in just a minute because that is your story. It's a phenomenal story. But you know, some of the men and women that have walked and run across country ran or walked across with a stroller, some with a backpack, some like me had a support vehicle. Can you tell them how you know basically did you have a support vehicle and how did that work out?
Yeah, I managed to raise enough sponsorship here in Dubai to cover the cost of an RV for essentially 3.5 months, and had a number of people that came in and out to support me over that period of time. My father-in-law, eldest daughter, and one of her closest friends, and then one of my great buddies, Jeff, from the university where I work here in the UAE. So there was 4 people that helped me over that 3.5 months. Um, it was, yeah, I'm aware that a significant number of other people have done it solo. Certainly the RV gave the comforts at the end of each day in terms of a bed to sleep and not having to worry about things like food preparation, which was really, really good. And when I go back to finish, I know you're going to come onto that, we'll be using an RV again.
It just give us an idea how many days or how many miles a day would you run from low to high? And did you take rest days like me, or did you run every day?
I typically took one rest day every 8 or 9 days. Though as the distance increased, every 8th, 9th day, that 1 day rest day turned into 2 days of rest, which I was certainly very, very grateful for. So my total running time before the event on the 2nd of August was around 81 days. And I think I was running around 67 of those 81 days. The rest were rest days. And I was averaging around 54, 55 kilometers per day.
That is incredible. You know, I'm a piker when it comes to the rest of you guys. I was running 26 miles a day, and taking every 4th day off as a rest day. But, you know, I was following you, Nick, and as you well know, when you got the closest point to Cincinnati, which was around Vandalia, Ohio, I messaged you and said I'd like to come up and meet with you.
That was special.
Yeah, I did. And I was so looking forward to it. And I was so impressed by you and your daughter and your other support driver at the time, and spent a couple hours with you. And I did a Facebook Live in our USA Crosser group. And then that was July 30th, 3 years ago. And I'll let you explain what happened 3 days later.
Well, it was just another normal day, morning of the 2nd of August, up at 5:30, big protein shake. My support crew in RV would normally catch up with me for breakfast around 18, 20 kilometers later. Started off at around 6:15 from memory. I'd run 17, 18 kilometers. So I was on US 40. Dual carriageway in both directions. It was around 8:10 in the morning. Very little traffic on the road. No pavement, so running on following the metal rail on the hard shoulder. And a dark colored pickup truck moved from the outer lane to the inner lane. I didn't think anything of that. It was just I thought a normal pattern of what a car would do. And then with about 30, 40 meters out from me, it, no question, it deliberately came off the road onto the hard shoulder. And a split second, I made a decision to try and jump across the metal railing, which I'm glad that I did. If I hadn't have made that decision, I don't think I would be here talking now. But I got slammed on my right-hand side at around, police estimated around 50, 55 miles per hour, thrown into a ditch, which wasn't visible from the road. The driver didn't stop. I have no idea whether the driver knew that I was being hit. I don't know. Wing mirror came off. Police have that. And I was found with the incredible help of my wife, who I was talking to at the moment I got hit, on a hands-free Skype call in Cyprus. And through her questioning, she was able to, one, keep me conscious, and two, was able to alert from Cyprus the support crew in the RV, and of course the state troopers, which then started a process of trying to find where I was. And I got found 56 minutes later, flown by helicopter to Ohio State University Hospital, where surgeons worked to save my life, and they did. So I've learned to walk again, which has been an incredible experience. I've learned a lot about the process of healing, both physically and mentally. I certainly know a lot about my body than I ever used to know. And I have so much gratitude to family, close friends, God, physical therapists, surgeons, and all those people that have really rallied around and supported me to get back. So 15 surgeries later, I'm now running again. And last week I managed to complete for the first time since 2017, 120 kilometers in 1 week. And I'm increasing that distance now. And I will be returning to Ohio to complete the run on 27th of May this year, and starting from the exact point that I was hit on the 2nd of August 2017. And Jim McCord, who I'm speaking to you right now, will be my support crew, and I'm very honored to.
No. I'm the one who's honored to be doing that, Nick. That's such a blessing. And you know, you mentioned it in your story, but I think it's such an incredible part of your story. I have to bring it up again. I remember you telling, I visited Nick along with another crosser, Paul Wheeler. He's a great guy from the UK, and Paul was running across the same time as Nick, and Paul and Nick were communicating as they were running across country through Facebook and through phone text. And Paul and I, when he got into Ohio, went down to visit Nick, and you know, Nick was in a hospital bed. And if you had seen what we saw on that day and on future visits, you would never guess that Nick Ashill would be up and walking again, much less finishing this crossing. But to get to the important part of your story, you mentioned that you were talking to your wife at the time, and I remember you saying your wife would not let you talk to her while you were carrying the phone, and you had to have it in your vest as a Skype. And that is so important because, you know, you were thrown off the road to where you couldn't be seen from the road. So had you not been talking to Sarah at the time, there is no way in hell that anybody would have ever found you in time to save your life.
Totally agree. She saved my life at that point. Fortunately, when the phone was thrown from my camelback, it was still operational. So even though I couldn't get to the phone, I could still hear a voice. And of course, having a medical background, she's a previous nurse. That adrenaline from her side, you know, just leapt in and kept me conscious for the next 35 minutes. When the phone died, and I hadn't been found then. That I have to say, that was a really dark time, and you know, my body felt extremely cold, and all I wanted to do was to sleep. And I can remember the point of just wanting to drift off because I was so tired. And it was that point that I heard the voices of these three incredible state troopers. And at that time, I had no idea what they looked like, but they found me. And in November 18, when I returned to Ohio for more surgery, I tracked these guys down, and it was very, very important for me to say thank you to them. And, they're incredible guys, to the extent that they've actually promised a police escort out of the county should I decide to come back and finish the run, which is pretty.
Nick, it's just such an inspirational story. I cannot wait to get up there with you and support you. I just truly can't wait. So, you know, this guy has had 15 operations, 15 operations. And how long were you in the hospital up at Ohio State University's hospital? How many months?
I was there about 4 months. The pelvis and leg have healed pretty well. I still have some rods and screws and bolts in, and some of that hardware has been taken out, which has now given me a little bit more flexibility to run. But I had a whole heap of internal injuries, which took a bit of a turn for the worse in hospital. So yeah, it was a dark time. And the other thing I've had to do, Jim, and I don't mind talking about it now. I've had to work really hard to get professional help in dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, which I completely ignored and said to myself it was irrelevant at the beginning. But it slowly came back and started to eat away at me. But it's like I've been on a constant replay or constant loop of being hit. But I've sought out professional advice on that, and that's been very helpful.
Well, a couple things I want to say. You know, I'm going to meet with Nick, pick him up whenever he flies into Columbus. You'll be coming in from Dubai, correct?
That is correct. Yes, probably via Chicago. Yes.
And we're going to be leaving on the 27th or the 28th from just that spot where you got hit, and you'll be running the rest of Eastern Ohio on Route 40 and then into Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and finishing in New York, correct?
That is correct.
And we would love for anybody who wants to walk, run with Nick, or just come out and meet with Nick, follow us. What's the website that you'll have up and running, or your Facebook page?
Yeah, so Nick Runs America, so www.nickruns.america.com. That's the 2017 story that will be updated. And of course, Nick Runs America, same name on Facebook, and same name on Instagram as well.
And Nick has friends and family have started a GoFundMe page for Nick, which is phenomenal. And I see a lot of donations already coming in. Mm-hmm. So you can access that GoFundMe page on that same website, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Again, Nick Runs America, The Return.
Awesome. And so anybody, we're really looking forward to just a phenomenal finish, and we have no doubt you'll do it. I'm sure a lot of it's going to be walking. I can't imagine you can even still walk, much less run. But we hope to meet as many of you along the route as possible. And we also hope that we have hundreds of runners and interested people to meet with Nick when he finishes this epic journey, truly the most epic crossing, I think, that I've ever heard of in New York. And that should be sometime mid to late June, correct?
Yeah, I'm scheduled. I'm hoping it will take me no more than around 3 weeks maximum, but we'll see how the body is. It's holding up really well right now. To my surprise, actually, it's going well.
Well, you look absolutely phenomenal. I'm just so happy to see you looking this good. From where you were 3 years ago, it's just unbelievable. And just one more thing, I think you may have mentioned it before, but you just praised the doctors and nurses at OSU. Were all of your operations at OSU, or were some back in Dubai?
11, 12 of them were at OSU in Columbus. So, Columbus and Ohio, despite what happened, became home for such a long period of time. And, many of those people that have put me back together, have put me on the road to recovery, have now become wonderful friends. And what's really nice about the 27th of May, Jim, is that I call them the three amigo surgeons. The orthopedics specialist, the plastics guy, and the general trauma guy. All three of them have agreed to run a few kilometers with us at the start.
Oh, that is just so
So that's
fantastic.
pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, I am looking so forward to it. So Nick Runs America, May 27th. Start following us then. And if you can meet Nick anywhere along the way or when we finish, when Nick finishes in New York, please do so. Can't wait to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you too, brother. You too.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Jim.
No, thank you for the inspiration.